Hi, this is the first video in a playlist on my channel called Q&A, so questions and answers. It'll be responding to questions that I've received by email or some other form that I just want to give some verbal responses to give the questioner some ideas of what way they might turn to next. So here, this question comes from Arnold, came to me 2 days ago. He says, quick question, a friend of mine with an Acer Aspire ATC 605UR51 desktop has been having blue screens of death for the past week. Today he was able to run a memory diagnostic, however it stopped at 2%, and after a while he restarted the PC. After the restart, it won't start and won't post, and the screen is stuck at the Acer logo and won't go any further. It won't go into BIOS either. It gives 2 short beeps and that's it. Tried changing memory to different slots. Same issue. I wanted to run memtest 86, however I can't since it's stuck on the logo and won't get past BIOS or post any feedback. So first off, my impression reading through this is that there's been a variety of different symptoms. I think there's some reading between the lines that I can even do because he's been having bsod, blue screens of death, for the past week, but you don't say when that happens. I'm presuming that happens while using the computer, probably at different points, and no consistent pattern to the blue screens of death. And then running the memory diagnostic stopped at 2%. Now, he said today he was able to run a memory diagnostic. So I don't know how many other symptoms happen between those two. I don't care about the number. What I care about is that you're not having a consistent symptom. So that brings me to thinking about, okay, what could be causing inconsistent symptoms? Like some kind of a glitch on the power supply could be doing it. Some kind of a random glitch on the motherboard, the CPU, the memory, and on and on and on. And one of the things that really stands out in my mind with this kind of variety of symptoms is connectors. So open up the computer, disconnect everything, and reconnect them. And even if you have the opportunity to use an electrical contact cleaner on the contacts, of course, the computer needs to be disconnected from power, and then hold down the power button for 10 seconds thereabouts to be sure all the power is drained out of the computer. Then as you're disconnecting and reconnecting, don't reconnect everything. Leave as much disconnected as you can. Try to get to a point where you can get a consistent symptom. So you could even leave all the RAM memory out. You could, if there's a graphics adapter board, you could take that out. Of course, disconnect all the USB items, even the keyboard and the mouse. Get it down to just where you can turn the power on and get to the point of the beep codes. Now do that 10 times in a row. Do you always get the 2 beeps? Or maybe it'll be a different number of beeps once you have everything removed. Then start adding things back one at a time. Now you could do some variation on this, meaning not disconnect everything that's possible, but maybe some things that you're suspicious of. That might be the trouble. You want to try to find some consistent symptom so that you can then focus in on that. If you have another CPU that's compatible with that motherboard, the socket on the motherboard and the motherboard itself supports that other CPU that you come across, try that. On the memory, you mentioned that you move the memory to different slots. So I'm assuming there's probably more than one memory board since you use the plural of slots. Check the manual to see if there's a designation as far as which slot should be used if you're only using one memory board. That's a thing sometimes. So get to the point where you're just doing one memory board at a time and see if you get a consistent symptom. If that memory board doesn't work, then try the alternate memory board that you have. And you may find that one of them will actually do a post and the other won't. Well, that gives you a pretty clear reason to believe that alternate memory chip is the bad one. So it's all a matter of troubleshooting, narrowing it down to where the problem is actually consistent. Now I'm going to bring up a tab here just to show the audience what computer we're talking about. So this is Acer's website, and that's the closest model that I found to it, Acer Aspire TC605, which is not quite your model. The model your friend has, ATC605-UR51. I did find over on another page here, where is it? Oh, this one, ATC605-UR51, which is, yeah, 605-UR51. That looks like a precise match for what you have, just showing what that computer looks like. So have I covered everything that I was thinking of? Quick question, a friend of mine with Acer, Aspire, yada, yada. Desktop has been having blue screen of death. Today he was able to run memory diagnostic, stopped at 2%. After a while, it restarted. After the restart, won't start. So you're not even getting a post. You're not able to get into BIOS. Now, another possibility is to flash the BIOS. Some motherboards have a variety of different ways of flashing the BIOS, even when you can't get the computer booted. So you need to check the manual for that. When you go onto Acer's website, you can get into a place where you find documents and drivers. And the documents, it doesn't look like it gets very technical. There's a user manual and a user manual W10. And then there's some BIOS downloads that you can do, and those would each have instructions. In application, not much of interest there. Those BIOS updates are all pretty old. I don't have a strong reason to think that this is a BIOS issue. It doesn't sound like it. But one of the things about this report that you've given us is there's a whole lot of history that's probably occurred with this computer that you haven't told us about, which I don't expect it in a first contact, but just for you to think about. What has happened recently to this computer? Has some component been added or taken away? Was there any set of circumstances that might help point the focus in a certain direction? The one thing that is kind of a little higher on my list would be the power supply. Wondering if there's something going on with it, and ideally just plug in another compatible power supply. Compatible just means it needs to have the right connectors and sufficient power, which, well, you didn't tell us about a graphics card, so I don't know what level of power supply that needs to have. And the Acer.com documentation that I was scrolling through there, that wasn't specifically that computer model, so there's a little question mark there. There might be markings on the motherboard, particularly the memory sockets, that might give you a clue. I've seen markings inside computer cases that give some advice about what the memory specifications are for the computer. So that's kind of a whole lot of possibilities and things to consider. So I think that's probably covers the thoughts I have on it. As an alternative, if you'd like to come on with us on Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific time, I do a live stream where people can come into a Zoom session and interact during the live stream and chat with questions. And there are many people who participate in those sessions that have different experience base than I do, and oftentimes they come up with solutions when I go, oh, I didn't think of that. So it takes a number of people to perhaps find the answer. So I'd like to hear back from you, how you're doing. Love to see you come in on Saturday, so I hope that all helps. Catch you later. Have a great day. Goodbye.